尊敬的各位领导、各位来宾、女士们、先生们，2019Qigndao国际 VR 影像周叙事峰会正式开始。Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Sandbox Immersive Festival Storytelling Summit has officially begun. Firstly, let's start with the topic of interactive storytelling in video games, animation, and beyond. 让我们首先有请主题演讲：游戏、动画和新媒体中的交互叙事。我们接下来将首先有请我们的主题演讲嘉宾 Raoul Barbie， 他是来自于奇异人生的游戏导演。And now let's welcome Raoul by the interactive live exchange. Welcome.
Thank you. It's working, yeah. Thank you everyone, welcome today and thank you for being there. My name is Raoul Barbet, I'm a video game and film director. I wanted to thank Eddie to inviting me today. I haven't shipped any VR content yet, I'm more into video games and film. But Eddie wanted me to talk about my experiences in making video games and working with interactivity. So I try to give you some hints about those work. So a bit about my background. I'm a French engineer and I began my career in cultural events and film festival in Canada, France and Cambodia also during 1 year in the Copana Center. My first experience is video game is Heavy Rain, made by the French studio Qigndao. It was an adventure game. I was in charge of motion capture and game design during 2 years. I moved to Illumination MacGuff, an animation studio, maybe you know the film Despicable Me. So I work with the team on the Lorax as a layout artist, it means all the camera work. And I wanted to go back to games, so I joined Dontnod for the first game, Remember Me. It was an action game in Paris, and I was in charge of all the cinematographic aspect. Let's now talk about the work I've directed. So Life is Strange. Life is Strange is an episodic adventure game, so 5 episodes. It's a narrative-driven game. It will tell the story of Max, the girl here who comes back to her hometown after 5 years, and she will have to reunite with her friend Chloe and solve a mystery. But I will explain quickly what is Life is Strange. It's modern adventure game. It's like the old I would say point-and-click games like LucasArts games. So it's interaction are a lot about dialogues and choices, and the player will be able to choose the story he wants. So the story will change depending on his choices. You will have consequences all over the game. Life is Strange was a huge success. We have millions of players. We also wanted to tackle society subjects, very difficult themes, like what is it to be a teenager nowadays. So yeah, we got a lot of players with Life is Strange, so very quickly we decided to move on and create Life is Strange 2. But between the two games, we have shipped this small game. It's 2 hours games centered around Chris. Chris is a young boy, a 9 years old boy, living with his father. In fact, Chris is a character from Life is Strange 2, and we wanted to have a link between the 2 seasons thanks to this game. And this game is free, so if you want to play it, it's actually available. It's just 2 hours, so you can see really the kind of game we are trying to create. So it's on PS4, Xbox, and PC. So Life is Strange 2, it's a game I'm working on it right now. It will be 5 episodes, and there is 3 episodes out, and I'm still working on the 4th now. The team is working in France on it. So it's a new story, new characters, and it's about 2 brothers, Sean and Daniel, who has to flee on their own after a terrible incident in Seattle. So again, with this game, we try to tackle society subjects, important subjects. You will see if you play. I will show you a trailer of the 3 games.
atmosphere. This is Chris of Flying Fortress. Have you spotted Snowmancer? Not yet. Keep me posted.
Chris, breakfast.
Okay, Dad. You're drinking beer?
I don't need a lecture from my son.
I always get picked last for the team at school, and they never throw the ball to me.
They can't tell stories like you can they?
No way.
I had no idea where we are. Feels like we're walking nowhere. I don't think Daniel understands what's going on. There's nothing we can't do, as long as we're together.
Thank you. So, between the two Life is Strange games, I've co-founded in Paris a new animation studio named Capsule. The idea with Capsule was to create a link between video games and animation films. So you see that we can highly quality CGI images for game trailers, advertisement video clip, or of course animation feature. I think I've got, there is no sound, but I will talk on top of it to win some time. So you can see the images we are creating. It's the first thing we have made with the studio. So it's pre-rendered video, pre-rendered film, so the quality, of course, is different from real-time games you have seen just before. But we're working a lot with the game company. The idea is to have the best images. As you can see, my two co-founders are quite good at rendering. So today I'm going to focus, I don't have so much time, only on 4 points. To talk a bit about interactivity, so what environmental storytelling, some things about artistic direction, the music, how I use it, the cinematography, and the choice and consequences aspect of the game. So what is environmental storytelling? Is when you create a 3D environment and you bring 3D assets, there is a lot of objects you can see, you can interact with when you play, or text you can read, or poster on the walls, this kind of stuff. It will tell some information about the characters you are. For example, Max in the game, or Sean, or Chris in the other games. It could also tell some information about the character you meet, and of course about the world, the way it works, the rules of the world, and about the plot, the story. The idea is really to push the player to explore, to find some new information. It could be critical information to solve a problem, or optional information that just give more to the player. The idea is really to create realistic worlds, like you have seen in the trailer, that feels realistic when you are inside. This first example is just you can look at a toy and Max will talk about it. This information is not crucial, but it gives a bit more to the universe. Here also a lot of other examples like covers, those bibs, you can find some names and some information to solve a mystery, this kind of stuff. So the player can always dig into the universe. I will show you some concept art of all the bedrooms for the players, of the characters, we have created. So in all those concept art, you have to feel the different feeling about each character. For example, here Max is quite shy and wants to study photography, and here you've got our friend Chloe, who is quite more punk and with all those details in the room. It's really important, I think, to give a lot to the players to have directly this feeling of who is the character. So here Chris is 9 years old boy, so you can see a lot of toys and comics, etc. But also if you dig into, if you search into his room, you will find some information about her mother, because she has lost her mother, etc. So there is different layers of interactivity like this. It's important, I think, to give as much as possible to the player who is curious, and Sean for Life is Strange 2. Yeah, a little about artistic direction. You can see it's not realistic. The idea with Life is Strange was to do something more impressionist, with painted texture, this kind of stuff. I think for Life is Strange 2 we continue in this way. The idea was to let the player create on top of something impressionist, bring his own imagination. I think it works very well also in VR. I think you see when you go into something even cartoonish, you can really dive into the universe very quickly and care for the characters. Again, some comparison between the concept art and the in-game environment. You see that it's quite close. The idea was to be able to have a still frame when you pause the game to really have like a drawing in the game. Sorry, I'm a bit quick, but I've only got 20 minutes, so I'm trying to move on. Something really important for us is the light. You can see it's realistic lighting on top of non-realistic assets, and it gives this feeling of life. Some words about the music. It's very important for me in the game. I'm a music supervisor of the game, and I've done a talk at VTC. If you want to have a 1 hour talk about this, so you can find it on internet, but here today I'm just going to talk about the interactivity with music. Since the beginning of the project I wanted a mix of original score composed by an artist and existing licensed tracks that we buy, so it's also to use it in a diegetic and non-diegetic way. For example, it could be sound coming from a hi-fi or a radio in a car, or could be on top of images like more in what is done in cinema, just to have music on top of images. What is really important when you choose some music, I've got a lot of different tracks in this game, but each time I ask myself if it tells something about the characters, about the mood. It's really important to not just put some music because you like it, but it has to mean something in the game and be linked to the narrative. So the interactivity, when you have an original score, you've got all the layers of the music, so it's easy to add a layer or remove a layer depending on the action of the player. For example, if he's in danger or if he's happy, you can add some new layers of instruments, but with the licensed track you buy, you have to keep the licensed track as itself. So how you're going to make it interactive, so I'm going to show you an example. So here you're Max, you enter your bedroom, and you will be able to have some interaction with all the objects around
Home
the room.
sweet home, my favorite cocoon.
So you can switch on the hi-fi, for example. You can see here the track. It's a track from Jose Gonzalez we have bought. So it will tell something about Max and his mood. And the player can also pick the guitar if you want to play. So you have the second layer appearing, and you can hear some notes from the guitar part, played by Max. We ask a composer to compose like a teenager, so it's not very well played, but it was the idea to have this feeling to be in your room as a teenager and you spend some time listening to music. But it's the player who decides what is will do or not. So here the hi-fi has stopped, but Max will continue to play, just as the layer of the guitar. And when the player decides to stop, you will see that it will stop the layer of music. So it's very small interactivity, but I think it gives a lot to the moment, and it links to the the composer, the character has chosen. Talk about the cinematography. The pre-rendered CGI pipeline is a quite classic one in animation, the one we use at Capsule, for example. So we've got the script, the board, 3D layout. We frame, we do the camera framing after animation and the rendering. So for example, this is an example of from the search trailer from Capsule, today's storyboard, and the color key. So it's really to have again, the light is really important to really have the feeling of what will be each sequences, what will be the feeling of each sequences of the film. And in the end you've got that. Maybe you have some sound.
Fact is a consumer and industrial product, but we're so much more. It's not just a company, it's a way of life. You're not the same benchmark, you're somebody. Somebody special. We have your well-being.
Sorry, it's available, you can watch it online when you want. So it was just to show you how it works in a trailer. If you have still frames, so the viewer can choose, of course, where you're going to watch it. So it's a film, but in a game, it's completely different. You have to write the script thinking about the interaction. So for the camera in a game, you will have this animation step with motion capture, the camera framing, everything sound, the rendering is directly in time in the engine, so it's different. But I would say the most interesting stuff with video game is the time. It's really difficult to handle. I think it's exactly the same in VR. You never know how much time the player wants to look something or do something. So it's a non-linear sequences, and you have to also change the sequencing depending on the choices of the player. For example, in Life is Strange, we change some shots, some cues, some characters in the same sequence. So we have to adapt all the camera framing to those choices. Know where the viewer is looking is the key, and give him clue to go on in the game. And it could be, of course, light or sound that helps that. So it's a lot of work to be sure that the player knows what to do and where to look. It's really, really interesting to create cinematography with this in mind. Quick slide about motion capture. I've done motion capture on every project I've worked on. I think motion capture gives a lot to the acting and to the characters in general. Working with actors will give something more to just having animation, and of course on a production point of view it's really interesting because you can have more assets and more data very quickly. So it's the first shooting we have made for Life is Strange. Here in the end it's the one for Valerian, so you can see the quality is not the same at all. Some design documents very quickly. To talk about how we work on Life is Strange. With my writer, we write, I would say, a main story, a red line we are going to follow all over the game. The idea is to let the player go around this story, but to stick to the characters and to the believable story we want to create. It's really important to let the player interact and make his own choices, but it has to be linked also to the character we have written. So it's important to find the right balance between those two. So here you've got this general rhythm, for example, of an episode. Over there, some map of rooms, all the interaction you can do and how it links. And the small diagram over there are for a small scene, I think it's like a 10-minute scene, all the different shots or consequences you can have, and depending on some choices you have made, or we will try to stick to the main story. The idea is sometimes we can have two different scenes, but of course it costs more, so it's depending on what you can do on your production planning, this kind of stuff. So, but I think it's really important in our games at least to stick to the characters and the story first. Choice and consequences, so it's the heart of our game. We try to when the player has to make a choice, it's something very important now because we see a lot of projects like this, like Bandersnatch or this kind of stuff. I think we have tried to create a good context for the player to know, to have all the information to make the good choice, or at least understand the consequences, the short one, and be surprised by the long one. Most of the time, I would say 50-50 is the goal. It means that the choices are difficult to take and mean really something. And I will finish with the power of interactivity. I love games also because of that, because I think a scene that is happening because of the player action will be stronger than just a sequence when you are passive. So there is a lot of important subject we want to tackle, and having some games to do that is really, really powerful. So yeah, I think interactivity is the key, and it allows to really create great memories for the players. Thank you. I'm a bit late, but I think it's okay. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bobby, for your excellent speech.